Welcome back to Meet You at Breakfast. I am Ben here with Brian and Dylan to talk about the penultimate episode of the Traitors US Season 3. Big setup episode, Well, we'll obviously talk about it. We had a cliffhanger at the end. We didn't really get a lot of resolution in this episode. But I do think we are setting up for a very exciting finale next week. And we also, through no fault of our own, a lot of a personal tragedy from last week. We did not record about the last episode, so maybe a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because we can maybe cover a little bit of that and then talk about this episode where there wasn't like a ton of like meat that really kind of had resolution.
Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was just going to say, I totally agree, Ben. It kind of worked out. Again, we apologize. We don't want to miss any weeks. It just was so, we called it just like a completely cursed episode because, so much stuff went wrong for us to not record. But we're, in a good spot now where we can talk a little bit about the through line of Carolyn versus Danielle to recruiting Brittany to maybe Brittany voting Danielle out. But we don't know for sure. So it kind of worked out.
I'm not sorry. You want to complain, pay to subscribe.
Right. YouTube memberships. No, I don't even have those.
Here I am on a Friday night with my friends talking of Traitors with a nice glass of Guinness, who is not.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that Guinness? Yeah.
It is. I got this nice glass on Amazon and came in. And it's, I'm good to go. I'm enjoying it.
It is a great glass, great beer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a really emotional 2 episodes for your boy here, especially. I'm really happy that we didn't lose Gabby in this one, but I am not the biggest fan of the cliffhanger. I'm not a big fan that we didn't get to see her or the cliffhanger. It really is. It's gonna make next week really juicy, but I've never been more hung up and shocked on a cliffhanger than I was when the credits rolled, just because the way on Peacock it works, it's every time it transitions to a commercial, it's the same exact thing that they did here, transitioning to the credits. And so I thought for sure we were coming back to get the reveal of the vote, and we didn't. But Traitors is doing a great job balancing out. Like I said, when I was worried about when Rob left, and then now once Carolyn left, I still found myself really, really captivated with this episode. And it was kind of great TV. And I'm not a Big Brother guy, so I imagine if you're a fan of Big Brother, as you two will talk about, that kind of this whole Brittany Danielle thing is kind of, I imagine would be pretty wild, especially if I'm trying to imagine the equivalent of maybe what it would be for Survivor if I was watching that right now. I think that's all really cool. I think by far the most gangster thing Brittany can do is to vote Danielle out and win. I think that'll fully get me all aboard the Brittany train once more. And I personally think that's what's happening.
Okay, so you are predicting that Brittany does write Danielle's name down, she goes, and then Brittany goes on to win as a solo.
Yeah. I think the edits and cuts from her, looking at Dolores and the shocked look back at her. Like I said, I feel like that would be really kind of like bait and switch, kind of just bad, smoke and mirrors. If that's not what happens, she's that shocked that they're going to go to a tie at that point. And then I think, what do they say? It becomes games of chance. I don't know if they draw rocks or the equivalent. I don't know what.
Yeah, I think it's a coin flip.
So
I think they literally flip a coin.
I don't think she would be, because that's best case scenario for her at this point. Obviously, if she knows she's voting for Danielle and it does go to a tie, and it's a chance, but I think that's what happened, and I think it's narratively it's the right move for Brittany, but at the same time, with the history that I understand her and Danielle have, I can see why that is very, very messy for her.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dylan. I rewatched the roundtable, and there was a moment where they very focused on Brittany's shock at Dolores not voting for Danielle, and I think that kind of convinced me that she did vote for Danielle in that moment, which is very sad as a Big Brother fan, as a fan of Danielle, who I think played last round extremely well to get Carolyn out, to get someone who was not on the radar at all to be on the radar a little, and then let Carolyn throw herself under the bus with her decision making and then capitalize on that. I was really impressed, and I think I wanted to come in and make sure like I was very clear. Like I'm very annoyed with a lot of people online. A lot of the fan. I'm always annoyed with the online contingents of fans, just because I think generally most people are pretty dumb or take things too seriously. But there's a lot of like gripes about, oh, she like swore on her grandkids, or like that was even from cast members. And like to that, I just had to say, like, you signed up to play a social strategy game. Like, you could have gone on vacation if you wanted to not do that. Like, please be serious for 1 minute. No one's really dying, and then like I think people are just like very quick to be like, I hate Danielle. She's so messy. She's so horrible at this game. I don't think she's horrible at the Traitors. I think she's played maybe a messy game, maybe perhaps over emotional, but like I do think she's a very good strategist. And of course I'm going to be biased towards her because she like basically helped invent Big Brother, and I love Big Brother. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for her as a social strategy player. But I do think people are just getting like weirdly intense about their Danielle hate online, and I don't think she deserved that. And I think you're all pretty dumb for doing that. So wanted to make sure I said that right at the top.
Yeah, I think it's kind of silly at this point for like a player to get like any kind of flack for being like really bad that isn't Dolores, right? Like why is anyone like? I think it's probably just because like Danielle is like driving a lot of the narrative, and people don't like the way the narrative of the season is going, and they're kind of deflecting that onto that. But like for me, the only person in these last few episodes that has like severely frustrated me in terms of gameplay has been Dolores, and like Brittany's confessional last night. Where she basically said, like, like, can you count, Dolores? We're not counting that high. Like, that was literally like those exact kind of words were running through my head before Brittany even said them. And I was like, thank you. Finally, somebody's saying it. Like, why are we like allowing, Dolores to like get away with just not even comprehending the basics of the game?
So I think pretty much what my thought process was last week. First thing, I don't agree with any of the personal attacks on Brittany. I don't think it's like, it was interesting because on the Reddit, which I'm just like sort of similar to Survivor Reddit, I'm just completely out on going to the Reddit now, because there is kind of like this misconception that people that dislike Danielle, are attacking her on a personal level, where someone like me, I just like Danielle purely from this game. I don't know what she's like outside the game, nor would I care, because I'm probably never going to meet Danielle. And I think that brings, I think it's a tough thing now with these communities these days, is to have people separate that, where I feel like, 9 out of 10 of the people that are hating on Danielle are strictly doing it because of the game. And then obviously other people get personal about like her looks and all that. And, that sucks. And then it's kind of like the loud, the vocal minority of the people that are the loudest on these threads. So that kind of dulls it down. I do agree on a personal level. I don't care if she swears in her grandkids. I think when you're looking at it from like a game, like if as somebody in the game, maybe as like Brittany or Carolyn, whoever's there, I understand maybe why they themselves wouldn't like that. It'd be the same way if like, me, you, or Brian were in a game and you were like, hey, I swear on my wife and my kids, I'm not lying, because I know you on that personal level. I would take that and be like, okay, he's doing this, like it's sort of similar to like Johnny Fairplay, where maybe perhaps a lot of people in Survivor did like him after the fact, but obviously as a viewer, you love that whole move of him saying that, him getting that whole lie that his grandmother was dead. So I agree with you there, Brian. Like people as viewers, if they're caring about that, and then there was like that whole stupid rumor that like, oh, she violated the NDA and told Brittany she was a traitor. Like I don't think that would fly in the game. And I do think that, especially with this doll challenge this week, it does seem like some things are like a little bit weighted to go in certain narrative directions. Like I don't think that the games are as big of a chance of skill in this as it is in like Survivor or like Big Brother. Like I do think that like they do things certainly narratively to get you to want to go in one direction, and that's fine because that's the type of game this is. And I think
we gotta pump the brakes on the Big Brother saying they're a clean game. There's been some suspicious things in Big Brother, but Survivor, I'm fine.
There's been suspicious things in Survivor too here. So,
and we could talk about that. Well, we talk about this episode too. We kind of touched on like I really didn't like the challenge this week all that much. Like for me, I don't like Danielle. This is my only exposure to her is this game. I don't think she's played a very good game. I'm not a big fan of how she's playing, but in the end, kind of what I took away from last week was, say whatever you want about Boston Rob and Carolyn and even Bob the Drag Queen. Danielle is the last one standing out of all that. And even though she's not playing the game I enjoy, nor do I think she's necessarily playing a good game, she completely swindled Boston Rob and Carolyn really bad to the point that she showed so many red flags that she was not willing to work with them. But Boston Rob, especially from the very beginning, and they still kind of fell, even though they knew how chaotic she was, they still kind of fell that it's like play DD with a chaotic evil player. And you're like, hey, don't go into this town and kill these people. And they're like, no, I swear I won't. And then they do. That's kind of what happened to Danielle here. And so I do think she deserves credit, even though I don't like it, that she was the last one standing. She went and got exactly what she wanted, which was getting Brittany to play the game with. It's shame on Boston Rob and Carolyn for allowing that to happen. And it's once again, the frustrations with Carolyn. She was outclassed last week with Danielle. I think that was a sign of somebody that's been playing games like these for a very, very long time, and somebody that has played one season or Survivor. And obviously the biggest gripe we had with them was that they weren't able to kind of get their points and get across to us like why they deserve certain things. So I do think Danielle deserves the credit there, but I feel like most of us knew that this was a likely ending to her. I thought that there was potentially, if Danielle got out of this week, and maybe she does somehow, there's maybe a good chance that she could win. But I feel like even now, say Ivar goes, they're going to know that. I think best case scenario, it's turned on Dolores and Danielle. And I think that the obvious choice for the Faithfuls is to go after Danielle at that point. I think that she outlasted what became kind of an impossible game for the Traitors. And that was maybe a good majority her fault, but it started when there was 4 of them with Bob the Drag Queen and Boston Rob, and they've gotten here. But I don't know. I'm kind of rambling at this point. I agree. I don't like Brittany, but I think that she deserves a little bit more. Or I'm sorry, I don't like Danielle, but I think she deserves a little bit more credit. But I do really hope, like I said, I hope Brittany does the gangster thing, gets Danielle out and wins, because I do think outside of Gabby, I'm really happy Dylan flipped this one, but outside of Gabby, I'm really not all too impressed with the remaining Faithfuls.
Yeah, I think if Danielle can somehow survive, that's basically an auto win, right?
Yeah, well, as long as they can retain Dolores's, trust, which, I mean, Dolores still, after all of this, voted for Ivar. So I think that they will, even if Ivar loses the coin. Even if, like, Brittany does still vote for Ivar loses the coin flip, and Ivar is revealed as a faithful, like, I think, at that point, I think they get another murder, right? They'll probably murder Dylan, and then they'll be able to convince Dolores to banish Gabby, probably.
Yeah,
and then Brittany and Danielle win.
Yeah. But now I don't see how Danielle gets out of it, because I really do think Brittany tried to cut her losses here.
Well, I will be the guy who does the opposite prediction. If you guys both are saying that you think that Brittany is going to vote Danielle out here, I'll be the maybe it's delusional. I don't know. I think it could go either way. But my read on the way that it was edited and Brittany's facial reaction was she still was not able to write Danielle's name down. She still put Ivor's name down, but she went into the tiebreak expecting to be on the wrong side of the vote and that Danielle was going to go out anyways, and she was just going to go down with the ship. And then when she saw Dolores's vote come up, he's like, oh, wait, it's actually going to be a tie again. Danielle has a chance. Like, we actually have like a 50-50 chance of winning the game.
I mean, I hope so. And sometimes it's honorable to go down with the ship.
Yeah.
You know, Survivor New York season 1, watch that. Ben and I were in the same position as this. And I didn't betray Ben there. I went down with the ship.
Well, you did betray me later, to be fair.
Scorpion and frog.
Yes, of course. But the issue I have, though, and the reason why I'm leaning that direction is because, like, I get the idea of she thinks that Dolores, flipped her vote, and so she also has to flip her vote. But like, is that actually like a reasonable out for Brittany, right? Like, what happens if Brittany flips her vote here, Danielle goes? There's still another murder. Presumably she murders, I guess, Ivor, probably. Ivor or Dylan, I would assume Ivor. I think she probably has a slightly better chance of flipping Dylan than Ivor, even though it's close. At least Dylan has had some sus on Gabby, and then she has to get both Dolores and Dylan to vote with her against Gabby at the final 4. And I think that's a tricky situation. I think there's a decent chance that either she just goes at that point, or at best she gets a 50-50 again. So I don't know if Brittany has any reasonable outs that aren't just her kind of YOLO Hail Mary trying to go down with the ship with Danielle and hoping that it ties and there's a successful coin flip.
How does it work now after this week? How does it work in terms of voting to stop the game? Because I assume at this point we go until there's either only traitors left, or like you said, until the faithfuls decide to stop the game, and then it's just a matter of who's in it. How does it work now? Especially if say Danielle does survive this week, Ivor goes home, and then obviously we have 2 traitors left and then 3 faithfuls. One of them gets murdered tonight. So then you have 2-on-2. Does it have to be a majority vote?
It has to be unanimous to end the game.
So that's the only challenge I'm having of seeing how this happens. It's because I feel like at this point, obviously, if Ivor is safe, it's very, very obvious that Danielle is a traitor. At least seemingly so. At the very least, and I think that kind of goes back why I think it's smart for Brittany to vote out Danielle is because I think it's going to completely turn all the spotlight over to Dolores, which is why I also think Brittany is having a bit of a panic attack, because I think she realizes that if she pulls this off, she has a really good chance of winning. How does it work now? Say we go through that. Ivor goes home. Let's just say Dylan's killed, and we have Gabby, Dolores, Brittany, and Danielle left. How does that work? The game, is there any situation that 2 traitors can win at that point? How does that work?
Well, they would have to convince Dolores to banish Gabby, because they would not vote to end the game because there would still be a murder that happened. So they know that there's at least 1 traitor, so they would not vote to end the game. And then Danielle and Brittany would have to convince Dolores to vote out Gabby.
And then now that I'm kind of talking out that way, if that situation happens, that's pretty much a guaranteed victory for the traitors at that point, because the last faithful left has no chance of winning, right? Because then they just kill him.
They would end the game at that point. They would end the game with the final 3, and then Dolores would lose.
Okay. So the reverse side, if we're kind of throwing hypotheticals out there, what I think is going to happen, Danielle goes home. They think they have a traitor. It's no guarantee that they're would the game just end if there was no traitors left? Would they let them figure it out?
Let them go, but there would be. It's very, very difficult to get all the traitors out before the final fire. It's almost mathematically impossible with the way the game mechanics work.
Yeah.
So they're almost always going into the final fire with 1 to 2 traitors, and then 4 to 5 people in total.
Though they helped Brittany out here if she does get left alone by allowing her to be extorted and then also allowing them to murder somebody.
Yeah, that's
Which
usually
you don't
not
always-
how that works. Usually you get one or the other.
So if I'm a player in the game, we get Danielle out, she's a traitor. I always think you should try to just get down to final 2
Yeah,
anyways. Like that's the best move.
yeah.
Period. Just
That's statistically the best, and also
50-50
money
shot.
wise the best.
yeah. If you're faithful, just try to get to final 2 no matter what. And 50-50 shot, you split the money or you go home with nothing. But that's your best thing. I would be a little bit like, oh well, maybe we got 4 traitors. Like that's usually like the cap of the first 2 seasons anyways. So it'd be tough.
Is this the most traitors there's ever been in one season? Is
For
5
the US,
total?
yeah. Both the first and second season, there was 4 total traitors across the game.
Yeah, because it started with 3 and they got to recruit rather than 4. And
But this was also a larger starting cast, especially when Rob, Derek, and Wes got added. This was like a maybe 10 to 20% larger cast, I would say. I don't know what the exact numbers are.
That's another reason why I feel very confident that Brittany votes out Danielle, because I think that's just a much better viewership path for us to go down in terms of watching the last episode. And I think that like the whole cliffhanger is there purposely, so we're coming back next week, getting that kind of like getting our juicy fruit to kind of munch on for the remaining episode. Because I do think if Danielle survives this, it's a much less attractive finale. But also, like, I think the producers are editing this with an unbiased lens, in the sense that, like, I don't think that they're just doing this to get people to come back, and then we're just gonna have a dull final episode. Just because, like, I don't think that they hate Danielle. And even then, I don't even think Danielle has gotten the worst of edits, in the sense that, like, I don't think Danielle has been doing a whole lot of good, and like her edit has just really gone the other way. It feels like probably it's been very accurate to how she is. So I think that would be a really satisfactory way to start the episode next week, is you kind of got out that last final villain, and then you kind of get into the politics of, can Dolores the idiot be swayed to end the game?
Well, here's also something I was thinking of, right? Because in that scenario, we're basically looking at a situation where Dolores is like hard stuck onto Danielle, like into this like tie and then revote, and then Danielle still goes out, Brittany flips, and then it's revealed that Danielle's a traitor. Is Brittany's out at that point to try to get the heat onto Dolores instead of trying to like convince Dolores, especially with how impossible it is to read what Dolores is going to do, and she's not really like a logical player. Like, is it better for her to kill like a Gabby?
Yeah.
And then try to get Dylan and Ivar to go after Dolores?
Yeah.
I think so.
My thought process, that's why I think it's so much better for Brittany overall for that to happen, for Dolores to vote against Ivar, for Danielle to be banished, revealed she's a traitor, and then like the only logical next step would be that's the only part I don't know how that works then. Is, so say they kill like Gabby, Brittany kills Gabby, and then is there only one more banishment left at that point?
There can be up to 2. There will be one, because they know that there's going to be a traitor left because it was a murder. So at 4 there will be another banishment, but at 3 again they get an opportunity to end the game or vote for it to banish for another time.
So that's like my only. That's the only thing I wonder about for Brittany, is if they banish Dolores, it's revealed she's a faithful.
Like Dylan and Ivar could turn around at the final 3 and then banish her just to be safe, and because Dylan and Ivar are very like consistent with each other, they're both faithfuls. So
is there would there be another murder after that?
No, the murders are done after the next one.
I was gonna say, because then it's obvious, like you do that and then somebody gets
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's I guess if we're guessing how the game is going to go, I feel pretty strongly Brittany wins if Danielle goes out and it's through that path.
I don't see the path, because like that was the out that I was playing through. But then when we just talked through it, I was like, oh, even if she does that, then Dylan and Ivar just vote her out at the final 3 and then split the money.
Yeah, unless they're.
It would have to be. I think she would have to murder Ivar and then get both Dylan and Gabby to target Dolores, because then I think that it's more likely that she'll get Dylan and Gabby to go after each other at the final 3 than work the other against her.
That's my winner's path. Is that what you just said?
It's like a very narrow fucking path though for her. Like, it's definitely way easier for her to just like go at the end with Danielle and we split the money that way. Like it's extremely narrow for Brittany. I don't know. I don't know if I buy it. I think if Brittany flips her vote here, I think we're probably looking at a like a Dylan Gabby joint faithful win or something like that.
I can see it, honestly. They've both gotten such good edits that I could see it happening.
I'd be happy with both of those endings, honestly.
Yeah, I think both are reasonable endings. I think both would be completely fine. Like I think like all of the like for me, as long as Dolores gets zero money, I'm fine. Like, because like they're like to like this is this was me with like MJ at the end of season 2, where I was like I didn't like Trishelle, but like she played really well, and I just did not want somebody like MJ at that point who was like so completely out of touch with how the game worked the entire time to like back into like half of the money or like a third of the money. And I feel the same way about Dolores right now, because like it's very clear she doesn't even know what universe she's in.
It's we didn't even really get like a reaction from her, unless I'm misremembering, when it was revealed that Tom was not a traitor. It seemed like she was just voting for him because she didn't like him, which gives me a good segue into it. Rip to my sweet king. I think that Tom Sandoval has completely redeemed himself. I am I'm right there with the one hater that Julia got in the comment section. Like, what has Tom Sandoval done to you? He's right. I label me a fan of Tom Sandoval now at this point. I think that I didn't watch Vanderpump Rules,
Sandoval, if you will.
A Sandoval.
We're in it. We're in it.
A Sandoval. That's so much better.
Yeah. A Sandoval in our Thomasance. So I'm rip to Tom. He provided, I think, some really great moments this season. I guess like I'm not the most heartbroken he's not here at the end. I do think it would have been really fun to kind of see how he would have been at this round table. And it made the most sense for them to kill him. But yeah, shout out Tom. I'm a fan. I'm gonna watch him. I don't know if he'll ever do another reality show that like I'll watch. How sneaks into Survivor. Which would be fun, but yeah, I'm a Tom Sandoval.
Modern era Survivor would do it. I think like 20s Survivor would have done it.
I think they might. Yeah.
All right. There may be hope for you, Dylan.
I feel like he's not like a crazier casting choice than like a Rome, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just because like the John Rockers, Jeff. I don't want to say John Rocker.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I think there's a difference between that. Like, I guess, like I don't know the full scope of Tom Sandoval. If they're like, but like, I think like a John Rocker who was like openly racist is a little bit different than like a guy who just like went through a cheating scandal.
Yeah, cheating is immoral and wrong, but it's not.
Yeah, it's a different level. It's a harm against one person rather than a harm against an entire class of people,
Yeah. And crazy with John Rocker back in the news.
Yeah.
Against all odds.
He's going to be boxing Patrick Mahomes Sr. Yeah.
Good Lord.
Weird timeline.
World. Yeah.
World. Talking about Tom here, I think like, I will jump on defending Danielle game to a degree with Brian, but I do think this Tom murder from Danielle and Brittany was not good. I think Ivor, I said Ivor was the correct murder going in, and I stand by that. I think actually Dylan was probably the correct murder, but I don't think that they had the like the knowledge to know that Dylan was the correct murderer. I think with the information they had, Ivar was the correct murderer. And I think it played out in a way because of that decision where like we're basically seeing the consequence of, I think, that mistake in murdering Tom. Because like if Tom is still in the game with Dolores still there, they're both voting for each other, right? And now you basically have like a forced kind of 3-2-1 situation where even if Dylan and Gabby are able to team up, which I think going into this round was like kind of going to be tricky to begin with. It ended up happening, but I think it was already a long shot. But even if they do, and they both go for Danielle, like because Dolores and Tom are throwing their votes away at each other, like they can basically just do what they did this time instead, and go for Tom, and it would be like a 3-2-1. And I don't know if like maybe Tom is like smart enough to get on board with going after Danielle and not throwing his vote away on Dolores again. But like I think it's way more likely that Tom does something stupid and irrational than Ivar. And he's like way like his chaos is like way easier to play around than like Ivar, who's like kind of staunchly never going to back down from what he logically thinks is correct.
I wonder if it was because like outside of Dolores, pretty much all the faithfuls essentially knew Tom was not a traitor.
I think that to a degree, but I think they could say the same thing about Ivar, right? And I think on top of that, I think the reason that they made this mistake was because they were hedging, like they were like strongly hedging for like further down into the end game. And they were they were operating under the assumption that they had Dylan way more locked in than he was. When I think they could have probably just taken a lot safer path by just murdering Ivar. It didn't make sense to me. Like I basically like when they were going through the logic, I was like, okay, like if you're going to go between Gabby and Tom, the full-throated like kind of move there would be to take out Gabby. Like taking out Tom's kind of a half measure that accomplishes nothing, because Gabby's like the strategic force that's actually driving the decision making. Like Tom's not like a mastermind. Like the mastermind, if anybody, is Gabby right now. So yeah, I don't know, because like Brittany should have known that because of the conversation that she was a part of before she got recruited. I don't know. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree that like you think the Tom murder was like potentially a game-losing mistake here for.
I think Tom or Ivar both get you back in this same situation where Dolores is not changing her vote either way, and then I think that you get. I think that murdering Gabby or Dylan was the right move, but like you said, I think they were hedging their bets on everybody thinking that hoping Gabby was the one that they're going to go after next for Traitor, and that it would be the most sellable to Dylan. So like, I guess when you lay all that out, the move that probably would have been best for them overall probably would have ended up being getting rid of Dylan, because I think Tom would have been so chaotic in his vote and probably just voted for Dolores. And then at that point, you have three people going on to either Ivar or Tom. So yeah, that was probably ended up being the smarter vote would have been Dylan.
Yeah, I think they overestimated Dylan's ability to be emotionally manipulated and to be like more loyal to a fault, and I think they underestimated at least Dolores, if not both Dolores and Tom's ability to be completely illogical and like completely intractable to basic like elementary school level reason.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point, Ben. I don't want to be too results oriented here.
Yeah. I mean, but I would say like
it worked out.
I mean, it's easy to say it's results oriented, but like when they did it, I was like, this makes no sense and leaves them with like way more outs for this to go poorly.
Yeah, no, I didn't necessarily see it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't go through it as much as you did in the moment. So it's hard for me to like say one way or the other based on like how it turned out,
Yeah.
because I have the influence of how it turned out being
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's fair.
yeah, this is bad, but I didn't see it, you know. Maybe I would have made the same mistake.
Yep.
But I think you brought up some good points as to why it should have been a move that was like not made by them, given the information that they had. So, yeah, really good point there.
Yeah. I guess that's something I wanted to bring up. We kind of talked a little bit about the Danielle versus Carolyn stuff. We didn't really talk about like I wanted to like really kind of dive deep into like the chess mission because we didn't really get a chance to talk about that from the episode.
Sure. What were you thinking about it?
I mean, for me, this is just like this felt like when me and you, Brian, used to cover the circle, and I would like constantly yell on that podcast, the influencer chat podcast, about how all of the like party games that they play and the icebreaker games that they play are basically traps, and they don't mean anything, and they're the only purpose for them is for them to either break down social bonds by making you do things that piss people off, or do things that potentially can expose catfish. And like every single game is just designed to trap you and like make you make a mistake that ends your game. And I think that's kind of what I see a lot of the missions in the Traitors as well, especially as a traitor. And especially like a one like this, where it's like so blatantly the case that the mission doesn't matter, and trying to prioritize a single mission over the like your macro game, it just makes no sense. I don't know why Carolyn cared at all about how much money they made in this mission. I think honestly the best strategy for this game is to completely randomly pick answers as a traitor for the 4 questions, make them not make any sense at all, and then just like act how you would normally act during the actual mission itself. And then when like random, when like Dolores comes up for like the alpha dog running the show, you're like, oh, that makes no fucking sense. What the hell? And then who cares how much money you make? If you make 0 money in the mission, then like, so what?
No,
I agree. I haven't really been a big fan of the challenges the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But that one particularly too. But it was also like, I think that's why these arguments that like Carolyn was playing this perfect game and then like and Danielle derailed it are kind of nonsense, because I think this was just a clear sign that Carolyn was not always thinking 3 steps ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a clear sign of that. Yeah, I agree. I don't know why you wouldn't just make every answer random, and so nobody's getting it. Like, yeah, I don't even think it was that much money at this point. Like
$20,000, the pot's like up in the hundreds of thousands, and they always give you a chance to get a lot of money back in the final mission. It doesn't matter. It's so inconsequential.
I think this was like the first sign that I was pretty sure Carolyn was probably going home this week too. Was because it was either that or they're like laying up like a juicy, like everything blows up in Danielle's face. Like, yeah, Carolyn was just so overwhelmed. Carolyn was pretty much overwhelmed from this point on that whole episode. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a way to weed out somebody to make a mistake, and Carolyn like bit hard into it. And I don't necessarily know how much credit Danielle deserves for her saying that like she's picking all these answers to like frame Carolyn, because I didn't really like see how that was working out. I think more so Carolyn should have known just to shut up about the Tom thing.
Yeah, this is crazy bad play on their part, especially this long into reality TV games where it's like this is almost akin to like, oh, I don't want to spoil something. This is akin to an early season Survivor where an alliance exposes themselves due to a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, okay, you should have learned in 2002.
Yep.
I think the only other thing to highlight from this episode is the reason why people don't like Danielle is like the whole shaking and panic attack thing happening at the table. Like, I understand from her perspective why she's trying to really sell. Even people have been calling it out. People have been calling it out the entire game. Her seemingly overacting in these situations. And obviously this one was kind of her Mona Lisa, the worst of the worst and all that. I think that leads into why we as viewers strongly dislike her. I say we, obviously, I mean, just like the majority of seemingly people that are watching the Traitors. That was kind of just like another facet. I just rolled my eyes though, because it was like she's basically been doing the same thing the entire game of overacting these situations. And once again, people have fed into it or they've called it out but haven't acted on it. And so that's a plus for her game, really, at this point, and a negative to theirs. So that pissed me off, and that's why I don't like Danielle. But you know, that's what she's been doing the whole game. So
yeah,
it's been working for her.
It has.
Yep, for now at least. We'll see. We'll see how this plays out. I guess we have any predictions for how the Seer kind of plays out. We didn't really talk about that, and I don't know if it'll have any major impact because the three people who seem the most likely to get it are the two Traitors and the one person who is like basically an honorary Traitor at this point.
I'm not a big fan of it. I've been hearing about the Seer. I'm not a big fan that it wasn't played out in this episode.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I'm not a fan that it wasn't used before this round table. I didn't like that. It's just overall, it just seems kind of useless at this point. Like unless it's, you know, Dylan asks Brittany, yeah, they get it. Dylan gets it. They ask Brittany, hey, are you the traitor? And seemingly it seems like there's a good chance the two Traitors or the Traitors, you know, dumb henchman Dolores are gonna get it. So it's just like it kind of feeds into why I didn't like the challenge either. It did seem a little bit fixed at points. Everything with the dolls was just dumb. I didn't like it. I feel like the Seer is a bit of a letdown because it was, you know, it was built up like this like whole game changing thing, and it just doesn't seem like it's just gonna matter at this point.
Yeah. Same. I think it's dumb. I think it's like excusable if you put it way earlier in the game where there's way more players, but like to have something of this come in so late, it was potentially like game altering to like a really bad degree, but now I don't know if it'll matter at all. So that's best case is it doesn't matter.
Yes, well, that's kind of the thing too, right? Like, I mean, especially with Big Brother, Brian.
The Big Brother thing that we say about every twist.
Yeah, the classic thing we say, which is like when the best case scenario is that it has no effect, like it's a bad twist. But even like beyond that, like even if they want it to work out the like way I guess like their perspective of what the best case scenario would be, which is like a faithful catches a traitor with the Seer twist, like a Dylan gets the power or Gabby gets the power and they use it on Brittany and they are able to confirm that Brittany is the other traitor, let's say. Like even in that case, you're kind of in a situation where it's like almost strategically incorrect to tell the other faithfuls that that's the case, that happened, because as somebody who played a lot of Among Us and has played like Mafia games and stuff in the past, what ends up happening is you basically, in those situations as like a faithful or like a town folk or whatever, you're essentially creating a 50-50 where either you are a traitor and you're lying about seeing the other person as a traitor, or you're a faithful and they're a traitor. And in an end game where you can just keep voting people out, like you're basically just incentivizing the other faithful to vote you and that person out, and you're basically just like sacrificing your chance of winning the money to like make sure the faithful wins. Like it would be like magnanimous, right? It would guarantee a faithful win as a collective, but it would be like probably the case that it makes it so the other players are incentivized to also vote you out. So I just don't even know like where, like what happens, right? Like, Dylan or Gabby confirms that Brittany is a traitor. Okay, I mean, they were going to push her anyways, right? Like it doesn't change anything. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I think like Brian said, if it happened like the final like 12 or like 11 or something around that, like I think it would have been more interesting. And again, probably would have been incorrect for anybody to say it, because again, it creates a 50-50. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if
Here's one for you, Traitors production. You can take it just like BB Can took my
Invisible
invisible
HOH.
traitor, invisible HOH idea.
Mhm.
Totally yours. Do it earlier, and instead of the reveal, have them pick two players and you get their relationship to each other. Are
Mhm.
they on the same team or are they, opposing? And
Mhm.
then, most of the time you'll probably get two faithfuls, but maybe you get one traitor and one faithful, and then you're like, well, one of these two people is a traitor, or maybe there's, you get both traitors, but then you still don't know. You're like, okay, are both of them traitors though, or like,
Mhm.
because that would be so crazy if I picked two traitors to, you know, in my thing. So I think that'd be a better twist because it adds more like on the player who gets it to kind of like have information, but not have like game breaking information.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And that's also, I would think that's also information that you're more incentivized to share. Um, you know, because like even early on, right, you share that information, maybe you get a trader out, and like there's a chance that like you get 50-50 on. There's also a chance that you just get murdered out of spite by the remaining traders the next round. Like with this, like maybe there's like a way you can play it. And like maybe it can like at least inform your decision making in a more interesting way. I agree.
It shouldn't have to be a public win either. It should be, you could
Yeah, no, I
potentially
do think they did that part right. Like, I think the it not being public who wins it is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because like if you do it earlier, you get the info, maybe you just hang on to it for a while, and then
Mhm.
later you can like, and then it opens it up for other players to pretend that they want it and
Yeah.
use that. Like I think it adds a little bit more, like a layer
Yeah.
of strategy. So, Traders UK production. Obviously, you're listening 46 minutes into this podcast. Please feel free to. And any other reality show that needs advising, let me know. I'm so ready to tear down your ideas and to elevate my own.
Mhm.
I think it all matters to what kind of game Traders US wants to be, because there's like a whole laundry list of gameplay mechanics and things
Yeah.
that they want to fix, that they want this to be like a game first oriented game rather than a social first oriented game. And you can have the best of both worlds, but like it seems that, and which is why we love it, they prioritize the social and like the chaos of it all first rather than kind of worrying about the actual mechanics of the game. And like I said, I do think that there's a way you can have your cake and eat it too with that. It just doesn't seem like, at least right now, they care to go for that. But we talk about, as I'm rewatching Survivor and I'm on season 2 right now, even just from season 1 to season 2, how much the game just evolves from that. Like, I know we could be talking about the Traders in 10 years about how much it's evolved from where it's at this point into like this perfectly constructed both social game and like competitive game. Who knows? But there is like this whole seer thing, and the way that some things have played out with the Traders. There's definite things that this game can fix down the road to make it more watchable from like a gameplay aspect. But I imagine this is probably the most viewers they've had for a season yet, and so why would you change that going into season 4?
Well, I mean, they have made changes, right? Like this season, or I think maybe they changed it for the UK version, and this is the first time they changed it for the US version. This season they changed it so that it's not revealed what your role is when you're banished during the fire at the end, which I think is a good change. Like I think that like gives traders a lot more room to wiggle in the end game. And you're not kind of in a position like Suri was in season 1, where she's like very heavily incentivized to pull the move that she made in that end game. I don't want to spoil it for Dylan, but because like now you can just convince the faithfuls to vote out a faithful at Final Four and get them to end the game at Final 3, right? Which I think is like a potential out for like a Brittany here. that probably wouldn't exist. Like if like it was still revealed what the roles were at the fire, like I think Brittany has a 0% chance to win if Danielle goes out. And then now he probably has like a maybe 10 to 15% chance.
Right.
See, I personally, I think it's higher. I really do. I think that we're like, if she votes Danielle out, I give Brittany like a 50-50. I really do. I just like that path forward. It really depends.
Yeah.
It's already been floated out there that there's 2 traitors left. And obviously it'll be revealed when there's a kill that there's 2 traitors left. So obviously then that's moot. But yeah, I think that's why I think Danielle going on is the best case scenario, because I do think that it's really up in the air, at least for like me going into next episode of who will win.
Yeah. I mean, what Suri did probably shouldn't have been possible, but like she's Suri, so she was able to make it happen. I don't know if like anyone else could do that if they didn't make these like little micro adjustments to the end game here.
Yeah. But yeah, no, we will see. If I would be thrilled, like I'm an enormous Britney fan. Like I've been a Britney fan for how many years at this point? Like over a decade at least, right? Since she was first on BB12. What was that? 2011. Yeah, so like 14 years almost at this point. Like it would be incredible to see her solo win as a traitor. It would be incredible for her and Danielle to win as a duo here as well.
Yes.
I think both stories would be like really compelling. One would be more tragic than the other, but I think like they would both be compelling. I'm very pessimistic that she'll be able to like pull it off, because it does feel like the path is so narrow. Because like I do think, I guess the path really would be kill Ivar, get like both Gabby and Dylan to vote out Dolores, and then either convince them to end the game at 3, or like convince like Dylan to go for Gabby at final 3. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough road. I don't know. It's not as simple. Like if Danielle stays, if like it's a tie and then she wins the coin flip, like it's basically GG. Like it's almost 100% guaranteed they joint win. Like for me, it's very, 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 very difficult for you to win, but we'll see.
I think if I wonder if you play off killing Ivar as like as maybe what's her name's Dolores's kind of just like inability to grab a hold of the game, of like maybe you can really set it as like, hey, she's like slipping up now. She wanted Ivar out. She's the last person left. She voted with Danielle. This is so obvious. Let's just get her out.
Yeah. I think it's doable. I just think it's hard. I think it's unlikely. So it's like 2 to 3 steps that have to be done, and none of them can fail. And it has to be executed in a very specific way. And I don't know if like after what's probably going to be like a really like emotionally destructive situation happening here, if she does end up accidentally being the vote that gets rid of Danielle and betraying her again, like I don't know if she'll have the mental clarity to be able to like picture this like very narrow path.
And I honestly, a lot of the times I've been talking tonight too, I have been forgetting that they don't have to reveal themselves. So like when Dolores goes out, or whoever's banished next, they won't know. So I guess a plus to that mechanic, because I've kind of forgotten about that a lot of times talking about it tonight too. So like now I feel even better about Brittany if that's the path she can go, of framing Dolores and then I kill Ivar, then frame Dolores. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree.
We shall see. Anything else you guys want to talk about in this one?
No,
that's it. Once again, another good episode. I'm a little frustrated by the seer and the cliffhanger, but I will be there at 9:00 sharp next week watching. So, very, very good season of reality TV. I don't see this being a bad ending to the show, like everything we just talked about. I'll be disappointed if Danielle survives and somehow wins, but once again, love her or hate her, she did what she needed to do to win. So I think this season will be very, very go down as very good. and I'll just be waiting for season 4.
Yeah, no, I think like we went through like the three most likely outcomes are Danielle somehow stays and it's a Danielle Brittany joint win. Danielle gets betrayed again by Brittany, and Brittany somehow goes on to solo Traitor win, and Danielle and Brittany both go out, and we get probably something like a Dylan Gabby joint faithful win. I think all three of those outcomes are narratively satisfying to me, so I would be happy with any of those outcomes.
Agreed. Yeah, Dylan, anything you want to promote before we get on out of here?
No, Survivor's back. So listen to the Blindsiders, because we are all the way back. And just follow me on DJ Cleverling on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok.
Awesome. Ben, same thing?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, same with the Blindsiders. Yeah, that's all I have going on besides this, and this is wrapping up. So, yeah, go watch. Dondi season 2 is wrapping up. You go watch that. I don't know.
Yeah. As for me, lots of stuff happening. Go watch the main channel. Just did a video on Avowed and why I'm confused that people seem to hate it so much when it seems like a perfectly fine, fun game. But that's the internet these days, baby. If you're not pissed off, are you even a video game fan? And then, hopefully I'll have more there. We have Those Fake Nerds, which is now officially transitioned. All the news videos are now just going to be on that channel, no longer on the main channel. So I could, focus on more video game essays and like playthrough stuff on Wicked Good Everything. Wicked Good Sports, lots of new videos out today on there. And then, yes, this is Better Radio. Please subscribe to the Blindsiders, because you don't want to like just end next week with us. You want to keep going, right? Like, come on, make this a full year-round thing where you listen to the three of us.
Wicked Good Show will be coming back. You've been hearing about it for like 5
Yes.
years. It will be coming back.
It's in the works.
Oscars this weekend. I'm pretty excited. FanDuel
Yeah.
allows you to gamble on it.
Dylan?
So
We do an Oscar recap episode.
Sure, let's do it. Let's
Right.
do it, because I think
Ben,
everything
you're of course welcome to come.
Yes.
I can come, but I also have not seen any movies, so
That's all right.
That's
It's
fine.
more about vibes.
I think
Yeah.
what plays out with the Brutalist and Amelia Perez on two different sides of an argument will be very, very interesting to talk about.
Mhm.
And like I said, FanDuel allows you to gamble on the Oscars now, so that's fun.
Oh, that is fun. That adds a layer, honestly. I might have to submit some stuff.
Can't parlay though, so I can't parlay. Amelia Perez and the Brutalist, which is
that your top 2 for Best Picture?
no. So I haven't seen Amelia Perez, but I've just heard it's complete dog shit, and I've listened to like the songs and
Yeah, my knowledge of it, I know like the basic premise of Amelia Perez, and I've listened to the vaginoplastia.
The Brutalist is a movie that I could talk about for like several hours in terms of like why it's both like a cinematic masterpiece and also at the same time like far from being perfect. And it's like a lot of that stuff came out at the end of the year about like them using AI, even though it was in the most minuscule of ways. It's tough to describe without seeing the movie too, honestly, because it's like it's unlike any movie I've seen recently. It's like a movie that I feel like will be talked about in 10 years as either being like pretentious bullshit or like one of the best movies of our like generation. So that's like it's like Paul Thomas Anderson on crack, and you're unsure if this crack is going to kill you or not. So that's my best way to describe Brutalist. And so I will be but I'm going to watch Anora tonight. Anora's like the last movie on my list I haven't seen, so I'm looking forward to that. I would also be okay with like a Wicked kind of like surprise victory stuff. There's a lot of fun stuff going on.
Wicked is the only movie I've seen. I will say that's the only movie on the list that I've seen.
I just saw A Complete Unknown a few days ago with Chalamet. He was very good in that, and I'm a big Chalamet guy. So, Brian, I would love that. I would love a nice recap and kind of talk about it.
Yeah, let's do it. I love the Oscars, so like
I do too.
I just love the pageantry of it, and it's such a fun time. But yeah, I haven't seen a ton of the movies either this year, Ben. So I saw The Substance. I And
Mhm.
and well, I think the problem was everyone on Twitter hyped it up so much.
I
Yeah.
agree
I
completely.
was like, oh my god, this is gonna be like insane. And I watched it, and I was like, that was fine. You know, like I'm surprised it got such positive feedback. To be honest,
Mhm.
you know,
I agree.
Yeah.
We'll see if I'll be mad after watching Nora whether or not Demi Moore should get Best Actress. But we can
Mhm.
talk about that on the recap pod.
Yeah. So do you guys have like a prediction in like a what you want to win Best Picture then?
So I want The Brutalist to win Best Picture. I want Adrian Brody or Chalamet to win Best Actor. I have to see a Nora tonight for Mickey. I think it's Mickey Madsen. It's her name. Mikey Madsen. Her or Demi Moore. I also have not seen the one with is it Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg.
Mhm.
So that might be another one I try to like rush watch by the end of the weekend. But no, that's like if you're asking me the big four is Brutalist Best Picture, Adrian Brody Best Actor, probably Demi Moore Best Actress, Kieran Culkin Best Supporting, and then honestly, I haven't seen Amelia Perez. I don't really have a whole lot of urge to go watch it, but apparently Zoe Saldana is like the biggest lock of this entire Oscars race to win Best Supporting Actress. So, which is tough because I actually really liked Ariana Grande a lot, and I think that Wicked is not getting the credit it deserves for like the spectacle and like film that it was. So that kind of sucks. Same thing with Cynthia Erivo. I thought she was just fantastic, even though I thought both her and Ariana Grande were like just complete weirdos during like that whole press tour and then like her holding her finger. It was all weird, but they won me over.
real theater kid energy being
For sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love Wicked, but I was a theater kid in high school, so
Right.
If you're
exactly.
If you're asking my hope and dreams, though, Chalamet winning Best Actor would kind of just be like a really great like pass step forward. But I love Adrian Brody, so I will be happy with either one.
Yeah. I think Dune 2 should have won Best Picture, but it didn't even get nominated. So
No, and it was revealed that several members of the Academy didn't even bother watching it because they found Dune 1 boring. So
that's so fucked because I loved it. As someone who's a fan of the book, like I was like, wow, really can't do it better than that.
Mhm.
Like knocked it out of the park, and disappointing stuff to be sure. That yeah, like you said, Dylan, people didn't even watch it. I mean, I don't know. Being part of an academy, how hard is it to at least like watch the major releases?
and I don't. Obviously, we get a tangent each episode, and I don't want to end it on this, but Hans Zimmer not being allowed to be nominated for Dune 2 for what I feel is one of the most beautiful scores in any movie, just because he used like a certain percentage from the songs of Dune 1 was bullshit. Especially if Amelia Perez wins best score. We'll see. Once again, I haven't seen Amelia Perez. For all I know, I could like it. I love musicals, but from what I've seen, I don't know if I will.
It looks just so cringy to me. I don't know.
Lead actress.
The lead actress is like kind of a psycho.
A lot of problems going on.
Yeah, she said a lot of like weird racist kind of borderline Nazi stuff on Twitter.
And like the director's not even like Mexican or Spanish. He's like French.
Yeah.
And it's like this whole movie. It's just it's strange. So
yeah,
we can talk about that. That'll be fun.
Yes, looking forward to it. So that'll be on this channel. Please check it out. Also has its own podcast feed. Just wicked good show. But yeah, that's it. We'll see you all next week for the finale. Julia should be back. She has scheduling conflict for this one, but yeah, it should be all four of us. It should be a lot of fun to see who comes away as the winner of season 3 of the Traitors.
Or winners.
Or winners, yes.